I'm thinking back to my middle school years. If my parents are listening, they could attest that I was a pretty difficult child when it came to school. I wasn't rebellious in the sense that I was like heckling or blurting things out, but I just didn't want to do anything. I didn't see the point. I came from a really difficult upbringing myself, where I was raised by a single father. When I say parents, I'm referring to my stepmom. She came into the picture later on, but I was, I was dealing with so many issues at home that none of this seemed relevant to me. All of this seemed stupid. I was like, my mom just left the house and abandoned our family. Why the like should I do anything you're telling me? Like it and I remember I don't remember any of my teachers from middle school except for this one who was kind to me. And because he was kind to me and compassionate to me, rather than looking at me like a piece of garbage, like, oh, this kid's bad. I remember him. Like, I remember his name. I remember what he looked like. And I remember actually participating in his class. And it was interesting how him just being kind to me made me want to participate. But everything else, I mean, I was rough. I would in the mornings when the bus came, I would pretend to go to the bus. And then when my dad went to work, I would just go back home. And then when he caught me doing that, he would drive me to school. And then he would drop me off. And then when I saw his car leave, I would walk like 2 hours back home. I did not want to go to school. And it was just really hard to like, I was just like, my life is difficult. Like why should I do any of this? Like, it was kind of that thing. So it's interesting. I'm sure you probably would have known how to connect with me, I bet, if you were my teacher.
I try, and I've had some years are better than others.
Yeah.
I do. My favorite kids are the ones I dislike the first day, because they're difficult, and I love the kids who are kisses the first day, and then within a week that has switched completely because
Yeah.
like the difficult children are clever in being difficult, and they're funny, and they are logical, and you can reason with them because, as you're saying, like, you didn't see the point. And there are a lot of kids, most of my kids, who there was no reason for them to see the point. Like,
Yeah.
many people who looked like me had come through positions in their lives where they said they were going to be there, and then they were no longer there. And so you're starting from a place where you have to earn like the relationship and
Yeah.
hopefully the respect. And sometimes that's easier than other times. But what I've found is just like trying to remember we are all humans with lives is
Yeah.
the best thing that you can do, and being understanding with children. And then I call my teachers children, even though most of them are older than me. I guess not anymore, but they used to be. um it's like we have to meet you wherever you are because you are our student, and so it is our responsibility to come to you how you came to us. And so if that means first you have to get to know somebody, kids learn from people they don't like, but it's harder.
Yeah.
um
I
it's
was
like, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just thought of something too. There was a polar extreme teacher that his method actually worked for me too. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but for where I was at the time, it worked for me. Polar opposite of the other teacher. He didn't necessarily look at me like a bad kid, but he kind of challenged me in an aggressive way. I think he actually called me a little shit. It was my chemistry teacher, and he was like, "Oh, you're another one of these little that just won't get it." And it pulled out my competitive streak. I was failing chemistry, and by the end of the year I got A's in the chemistry test, and it was just to prove to him I wasn't a little. So oddly enough, it was like I could only function in these two extremes. Like, either you have to be wildly compassionate or just like abusive
And
or a total, because then it brings out my competitive side. I'm like, I'll show you I'm not an idiot type of thing. But anything indifferent and lack of passion in between was like, this is a waste of my life.